What's good, my people? Welcome back to EMGM Sports. It's your boy Enzo. I hope everyone is having a good day, a good weekend thus far. And yeah, listen, it's the return of Francis Ngannou, the Predator. He's back in the octagon. He's fighting Renan Ferreira, heavyweight champion from Brazil. So yeah, man, Francis Ngannou is back in the octagon after what? Almost 2 years since he ventured into the boxing world, went in there, done his thing, earned a loads of money, and yeah, he's come back. And this was always going to happen because before he ventured into boxing to fight Fury, to fight Anthony Joshua, he already signed a deal with the PFL because obviously he left the UFC as the UFC heavyweight champion. He left on bad terms, some difficulties. He had some challenges, with his contracts, etc. He wanted big fights against John Jones. Now we don't know exactly what happened with that, whether it's Francis Ngannou's fault. Dana White, the president of the UFC, he blamed Francis Ngannou, and vice versa. Francis Ngannou blames the UFC and Dana White. So they went back and forth. Francis Ngannou decided to part his way and start his own, his new challenge in life. So he went away and opportunities came up in boxing for him to fight the likes of Fury and Anthony Joshua, and he took it. Do you know what I mean? He took it. And why not? Because he's probably earned more money fighting Fury and Anthony Joshua than he did in his whole entire UFC career. So listen, none of us can blame Francis Ngannou for doing what he had to do at that time to provide for himself and his family. And even though he wasn't successful in boxing, even though he got, you know, viciously knocked out by Anthony Joshua, came close in it against Tyson Fury, gave Tyson Fury a very tough night. Do you know what I mean? That was like at least a lot of people were saying that they had Ngannou winning that fight against Tyson Fury, and the least was a draw. Me myself, when I was watching that fight, I couldn't believe it. Like he actually, was able to manhandle Tyson Fury. He was able to like take Tyson Fury's best shots. He even dropped Tyson Fury in a third round, which a lot of us were surprised. A lot of us thought Tyson Fury, at that time, he was the best boxer, heavyweight boxer in the world. Tyson Fury's got the mobility, he's got the skill set. Tyson Fury at that moment of time, he was undefeated. Everyone thought, you know what, Fury's gonna wipe the floor with Ngannou, but that wasn't the case, man. Ngannou went in there and proved all of us wrong, and most of us had him winning. I had Francis Ngannou winning, but unfortunately, he didn't get the result. Went against Anthony Joshua, and we all know what happened there. Found his place in boxing, and he got knocked out viciously. And yeah, the rest is murder she wrote. But the guy made a lot of money. Now he's back in the PFL, fighting the Brazilian Renan Ferreira. This is a tough fight because Ferreira, he's taller than Francis Ngannou. He's rangier, bigger. He looks, do you know what I mean? And it's like the first time I've seen someone bigger than Francis Ngannou, like in terms of everything, size, range. I'm talking a lot. Do you know what I mean? And the guy's got a punch in him as well. Like his record is 13 fights. He's lost 3 times. So he's got 10 wins under his belt. Now out of those 13 fights, he's knocked out 11 of his opponents. And, one was via TKO. So he's knocking people out, man. He's getting people out of there. I think he's got one submission win, which in MMA, as you all know, there's various ways to win a fight, unlike boxing. So it's not an easy fight back for Francis Ngannou, the Predator, to come back into. He's going from the frying pan straight into the fire when it comes to this fight. He's not having like a little what do you call it, a little tune up, little warm up fight to come back, get his feet wet again, get used to the MMA style again. Now he's going straight back in there with a monster. And I'm calling this the battle of the giants, the battle of the monsters, because these guys are absolutely gigantic. And it's gonna be crazy when you see them inside the octagon. Like Like the size of these two guys in that octagon is gonna be crazy. It's gonna look crazy. But I want to focus more on Francis Ngannou because what's interesting is, yeah, and to me is what's interesting is that Francis Ngannou obviously look for 2 years he was his last fight in MMA under MMA rules. I'm talking 8 ounce gloves. You can wrestle, submission, etc. You can do various things to win a fight in MMA, unlike boxing. Now Francis Ngannou, he's been training boxing. There was a period of time, 18 months, where he was solely focused on boxing, trying to perfect his craft, trying to, sort out his footwork, trying to sort out the way you throw a jab, the way you throw the backhand, the way you dodge punches. So he had to kind of like um readjust his mindset because it's coming from MMA to boxing is so different. In fact, yeah, boxing and MMA are two completely different sports. Some people, I think getting misconstrued because they've seen a few crossovers where they've seen Conor McGregor come over, have a few fights. There's been other MMA fighters have crossed over. Anderson Silva, they've boxed the likes of Jake Paul. They've seen himself. Francis Ngannou has crossed over into boxing. And people seem to kind of think like, yo, MMA guys can just come straight into boxing and can have some type of level of success. Nah, it's very difficult. Me myself, I've trained MMA and I've trained boxing. I can tell you the two completely different sports. Like first of all, like the footwork is different. Do you know what I mean? The stances are different. The way you throw the jab is different. The way you throw the backhand is different. The way you dodge punches are different. Your mindset is going to be different because when you're in MMA, you're thinking about blocking leg kicks, you're thinking about, blocking knees, you're thinking about, high kicks, low kicks. Do you know what I mean? You're thinking about elbows, you're thinking about, grappling, you're thinking about wrestling, you're thinking about submissions. There's so many variations, so many disciplines in MMA, mixed, hence it's called mixed martial arts. Like one has to worry about that your focus like is everywhere. Do you know what I mean? You're constantly, you're constantly having to worry about what the opponent is gonna do next, what type of moves they're gonna do next, not just with their hands, but various parts of their bodies. So the mental side of it is different. You're always constantly alert to the dangers that are possessed to you within that octagon. Now with boxing, you're solely focused on the upper body of a person. You're fully focused on the hands movement, probably looking at the shoulders, etc., footwork, etc. And even the way that the range and the distance measurements is completely different to MMA and boxing. Do you know what I mean? Boxing, they get up close to each other, let shots go, let jabs move. In MMA, you can leave a big gap because some guys are grapplers, they're great at jiu-jitsu and they want to shoot. And if you get too close to them, they're going to get hold of you, grab you, take you down, potentially submit you and ground a pound. Do you know what I mean? In boxing, you can get up and close and you're letting shots go. You can hold. In MMA, even if you hold, there's still other dangers. Do you know what I mean? That come with holding do you know what I mean? And trying to grapple. So two completely different sports. And the interesting thing about this fight is how Francis Ngannou will be able to rehabilitate himself here, how he will be able to reprogram his mindset to be able to make him as successful in his return to the octagon as he was when he left almost 2 years ago. So it's going to be very interesting because we've seen, I mean, look, there's precedent of this with Conor McGregor. He went over and boxed, what's his name? He boxed Money Floyd Mayweather, lost that fight. He came back into the UFC, and I think he's only won one fight ever since. He's lost every other fight after that or got injured or whatever. So Conor McGregor was unable to do it. Now, there might be other factors that come into it when it comes to Conor McGregor. Do you know what I mean? We all know the type of lifestyle that he lives. He made over $100 million, when he fought Floyd Mayweather. So I don't think Francis Ngannou made as much money as Conor McGregor. So the motivations might differ. Where Francis Ngannou probably still wants to make more money. As in the case of McGregor, he made 100 million. Who the hell wants to fight? Where is the motivation coming when you've already made 100 million and you're going back to the UFC, you're getting paid 2 million? So I think McGregor, Francis Ngannou, two completely different situations. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that works in favor of Francis Ngannou because he knows he's still hungry. He's still motivated to not just perform to his best, but for financial reasons as well. Do you know what I mean? He's still feels like his family's not set yet. He still wants to make more money in the sport, in combat sport in general. So that might be a motivating factor for him. And also, he recently, his son passed away. He lost his child. So again, another, motivation for him to go out there and perform and try his best and win that belt, win the championship in the PFL, and that's what I'm intrigued in when I'm gonna watch this fight with Francis Ngannou versus Ferreira. Is I just want to see how he gets back in there because it's so difficult, like to just switch on and off. Do you know what I mean? You've been training boxing for almost 18 months. Your whole mindset has changed. The way you're throwing punches has changed. So it's gonna be a challenge for Francis Ngannou to just make readapt to MMA rules and MMA standards and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not just a negative for Francis Ngannou. It could also be a positive because he's been training boxing for so long now. Do you know what I mean? He's been there with the likes of Anthony Joshua, with the likes of Tyson Fury. Like the amount of data that he would have gathered, the amount of skill set that he would have picked up from boxing. Do you know what I mean? The discipline and everything like that. If he brings that level of skill set in the octagon, yeah, like he could do real damage in the PFL, like against Ferreira. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, going in there, we know a lot of these not UFC, but MMA fighters. Sometimes they're very wild with their punches. Now, Francis Ngannou has been there with some of the most elite boxers in the world. Like at that time, Anthony Joshua was top two. Tyson Fury was number one, heavyweight champion in the world. So, and he was able to give Tyson Fury a run for his money. In fact, gave Tyson Fury a harder fight than probably Deontay Wilder did. So Francis Ngannou is going to take all that skill set that he's learned from boxing, all that information that is gathered, the fact that he shared a ring with such elite boxers is going to give him a huge boost of confidence going into this fight, and that could help him. That could help him against this Ferreira. So I'm looking at Ferreira. Look, I watched some of his highlights, and he's a bit wild with his shots. He leaves himself a little bit open. And if Francis Ngannou is on point, if he's on game, he will take full advantage of those openings that he will now be able to see. Because when you're a boxer, your mindset, you're so focused, you're looking at really minute details of, how a fighter is moving, the head movement, the little, when you throw a jab, if you throw a lazy jab, Francis Ngannou will know that I can come up with an over right hand. Do you know what I mean? So Francis Ngannou has learned so much from boxing that I'm confident in this fight. He'll bring all those skill sets from boxing and apply within MMA. Francis Ngannou is so strong, he's so tough. He's hardly ever taken down. Do you know what I mean? He's a beast of a guy, and he can crack a punch. I mean, he's knocking guys out all the time in the UFC, so he's not gonna have no problem cracking this Ferreira guy and absolutely knocking him out. But we're yet to see if him going over to boxing eventually now is gonna affect his whole mentality, how he approaches his fight. But I know if Francis Ngannou goes out there, yeah, brings all the skill set from boxing, has the discipline, he doesn't rush in, he takes his time, I can see him doing real damage to Ferreira. But if he goes in there in a mindset that, listen, I can box and I'm a better boxer now, and he ignores all the other MMA skill set that he has to bring to apply in this fight against Ferreira, he could be in real trouble. Because one thing he can't do, he can't just go in there, step in the octagon thinking that, yeah, listen, I'm a boxer, I can box, all of a sudden trying to be Muhammad Ali. No, he has to do a bit of the boxing that he's learned, but also go back to the basic fundamentals of MMA that he was applying while he was at the UFC. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what Francis Ngannou has to do. And I'm sure if he does that, listen, he's going to have great success. And if he wins the fight against Ferreira, the question is what's next for Francis Ngannou? And I'm probably gonna come back and do another video after the fight. If Francis Ngannou wins, where does he go from there? Does he stick with the PFL? Does he defend the belt? Does he have a couple more fights in MMA? How much money can he really make from MMA? Do you know what I mean? Or does he, jump back into boxing, especially after a win? If he was to win his fight in a PFL against Ferreira, that gives him more leverage now, innit? Like his name is back up there. Do you know what I mean? The fans will be we'll be wanting to see him back into boxing. Does he then jump in there with a Wilder? Because he has talked in the past about fighting Deontay Wilder. I mean, that would be a good fight. That would be a good fight. Big money for Francis Ngannou. Big money for Wilder. Wilder is coming towards the end of his career. Francis Ngannou might just want another scalp in boxing. He's failed twice against Fury and Joshua. Why not go for Wilder, who's also one of the biggest punches? And do you know what I mean? Beating Wilder will give him some type of credibility because once upon a time, Wilder was the heavyweight champion of the world. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Francis Ngannou goes next if he was to win this fight. Now, it's MMA. Listen, just like boxing, everyone has a puncher's chance. Now, if Ferreira goes in there, sparks Ngannou and knocks him out and beats him, listen, then, where does Francis Ngannou go from there? Does he then leave MMA, goes back to boxing? And if he's lost against Joshua, he's gone back to MMA, loses that fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, where, he will lose a bit of credit with the fans, innit? He won't be able to really demand the money, or would the interest towards him won't really be there from the boxing fans, the casuals, etc. Do you know what I mean? Those type of fans that like the crossover stuff. Like if he loses against Ferreira, I don't really see him coming back into boxing for a big money fight, because the interest just wouldn't be there. But me, I want Francis Ngannou to win this fight, and so that he can come back to boxing. I want to see him go against Wilder. That's the fight that I want to see. And yeah, man, Francis Ngannou overall is a good guy, humble, always speaks well. So I want to see him. He's from Cameroon. He's a fellow African like me. So I want to see him go out there and win this fight. And yeah, so that we can see him again back in the ring in the near future. So yeah, let me know, man, what you think. Francis Ngannou. Is he gonna win? You think he's gonna lose? Do you think that this going back into MMA is a mistake? Is it gonna be a harder thing to do? After training boxing for 18 months, having a couple of fights, and then jumping back into the PFL against a monster like Ferreira. So yeah, let me know. Comment down below. I'll really appreciate it. Listen, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll really, really appreciate that you're helping the channel to grow. Yeah, this is it for me, man. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy all the sporting events that's on, this weekend. Whatever you're doing, family, chilling, have a great time. And I'll see you on the next one. I'll be back real soon. I'm hoping, not hoping, but I want to drop, daily content for you guys, daily videos. So, that's what I'm aiming to do. And, I'm gonna do it. So I really appreciate for watching these videos and supporting. So yeah, thank you so much. It's your boy Enzo. Thank you so much for watching EMGM Sports. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.